I have been visiting Disney Park since I was 5 when my parents took me to Tokyo Disneyland in 1985. And since then, I have visited all 6 resorts and all 12 parks around the world. For me, a Disney park is more than just a theme park. The rides are not just rides, they're a media for storytelling. And it's not just the rides, but the surrounding lands, landscaping, the little details, and even their hotels and resorts are filled with Disney magic. Universal is the only other park operator that does theming very well, and I think not even they can match Disney in quality of the theming. And I've always wondered how they do it. How do they create magic over and over again? After riding the Pirates of the Caribbean ride in Shanghai, I thought that was the peak. I thought they can never create anything more incredible than that. And of course they did with the Rise of the Resistance. I have not personally been on Rise of the Resistance, but from what I've seen, it is incredible because it's very immersive. So it's more than just a ride; it's an experience, and that's what they do. That's what Disney do. So when I heard that they released a documentary about Imagineering, I knew I had to see it, and it's one of the major reasons why I want to get Disney Plus. So, the Imagineering Story is a 6-episode documentary showing the state of Imagineering in different Disney eras. Imagineering, of course, is the part of the Walt Disney Company that designed rides and attraction for the Disney parks. First episode is about Walt's lifetime. It detailed how he got the idea to build Disneyland and how hard it was to get the money for it. So on the financial side, he was lucky to have his brother Roy to handle the money stuff. I think Roy is a bit underappreciated by the Disney community because without him, Disneyland would not have been successful. Then they went over the animatronics, which was very interesting because when you talk about Disney rides, you have to talk about the animatronics. Over the years, they become more and more complex, and I'm very excited to see what future animatronics look like. The first episode ends with 3 classics. It's a Small World, great ride, I love the song. I don't get tired of listening to it over and over on the ride. And it's the ride that brings the whole world together. Pirates of the Caribbean, the ride that spawned a movie franchise, and it's one of the first rides that feature animatronics. And Matterhorn Bobsled was the last one. It was the first ever mountain ride, and there will be many more mountain rides and in Disney parks, and they all become fan favorites. So you can see that even those early days, the rides stood the test of time. All 3 are still there today, and they're still fan favorites. So that just showed that Walt's vision is very long lasting. He's a great visionary. And then the second episode deals with the aftermath of his death. So unfortunately, he didn't get to see Haunted Mansion. He didn't get to see Walt Disney World finish. Haunted Mansion was another of Walt's idea that's still a fan favorite to this day. It was built in the 60s, where special effect was not very advanced, but they made it work. The special effect was amazing, especially the ballroom scene. And even now, now that I know how they did it, it's still very fascinating. If anything, it makes it even more incredible because the technology was not advanced, but they made it look advanced. And then Epcot was a major question mark because what Walt wanted to do with it probably wouldn't have worked if they did exactly the way Walt wanted to do it. So they changed it. They went with their own ideas. They made it an educational theme park, which worked. So that's great. It's great that the Imagineers didn't not stuck with Walt's original idea, and they can spread their own wings, spread their own creativity, and go with their own decisions. So it's like Apple after Steve Jobs passed away. Steve Jobs used to say that he didn't want to make a bigger iPhone, but after he died, Apple released the iPhone Plus, which is very popular. So it's good that people are not beholden to the founder's wishes and go with their own instinct and their own decisions. I have to be honest, I didn't enjoy Epcot when I first go there, when I first went there as a kid, because I have not learned all the stuff there. I haven't learned a lot of history and geography. But now as an adult, I love it. It's very unique. It's not just entertainment, but it's education and entertainment combined. And I love how they added more Disney stuff in it, like Frozen for Norway and Princess Meet and Greet in all the different countries. And it attracts the younger children, brings traffic there, and once they're there, they're going to want to see all the different stuff in the other pavilions. So it's a good idea. And after that came the international expansions with mixed results. Tokyo Disney was the most successful because the request for Disneyland in Tokyo came from Japan itself. The Japanese people really love Disney. They have made Mickey Mouse their own. He's just as popular as Hello Kitty over there. And being operated by a third-party company means they have no money problem, which helped them later on when they built the Tokyo Disney Sea. The Paris park was not as successful at first because I guess it's because the French people didn't request it. Disney brought it to them, and maybe they didn't make it French enough. They didn't tailor it. They made it too American, especially the hotels. All their resort hotels are themed after different aspects of American culture, which was probably a mistake because the French people saw it as an invasion of American consumerism. But they have been fixing it. They have been putting Disney touches in all their hotels. And then came the Michael Eisner era, which was probably the toughest era for the Imagineers because of the budget cuts. But I don't want to put too much blame on Michael because we as outsiders didn't know what the financial situation was like. They just survived a hostile takeover attempt, and Michael Eisner probably felt that they had to tighten the purse for the next few projects, especially after the disappointing opening of Disneyland Paris. And I think Michael Eisner was a net positive for Disney. And this is actually the most interesting part of the whole documentary because it's one thing to see people succeed, but it's more interesting to see your heroes fail and how they recover from their failures and they rise above their failures and become even greater than they were before. So this is the most interesting part. And I was there to see two of their failures. I was there when DCA opens, and it was not, maybe it was not great, but it was not a complete failure because it gave us soaring over California, which I preferred over soaring around the world. But soaring is now one of the most popular attractions in Disney parks. And California Screaming, I thought it was a very cool roller coaster. It was my first launch coaster, so it was a special one for me. So not a complete failure, but of course it was not great when it first opened. And then Hong Kong Disneyland, it was rough. The opening of Hong Kong Disneyland was rough, and it opened in September of 2005. And I went there in December that year, and it was just not good. And here I have an opening day map of Hong Kong Disneyland. Let's just count how many rides were there on opening day. We have the Railroad, Jungle Cruise, Dumbo, Carousel, Teacup, Winnie the Pooh, Orbitron, Buzz Lightyear, and Space Mountain. So 9 rides. 9 rides, and 4 of them are spinners. Things like Carousel, Teacup, Dumbo, and Orbitron, I call them spinner rides. So 5 actual rides on opening day, and that's not good for Disney. And then not long after that, they announced Shanghai Disneyland. So they really they did Hong Kong Disneyland poorly there. To their credit, they didn't abandon it. They made it better. They expanded the park. They added their own frontierland called Grizzly Gulch, and they added Mystic Manor, which is one of the best Disney rides ever made, everywhere. So I hope they never abandon the park, because now I love the park. Back then I didn't, but now I do. It's a great park, and the atmosphere is great. The crowd level is great. So I hope it stays successful and it doesn't shut down, especially after everything that's going on in Hong Kong, with the protests and the pandemic. So, the Imagineers recovered during the Bob Iger era. They fixed the failed parks, and their recent projects have been very successful, like Cars Land, Pandora, and Shanghai Disneyland is of course very successful. They didn't make the same mistake when they built Disneyland Paris. They made it authentically Disney and distinctly Chinese, which really showed it's the most different of all Disney parks. And they tailored it to the Chinese taste, and they have two great attractions there: Tron, which is coming to Magic Kingdom, and the Pirates Ride, which is different from the classic Pirates Ride. They have new technology there, and I heard they're bringing that technology to Walt Disney World on another ride. I heard it's Jungle Book, so I hope they do it. I hope they bring that technology over there. And then Pandora was successful, and of course the latest one is Galaxy's Edge with Millennium Falcon and Rise of the Resistance. They're very popular rides. They're very incredible. So the future is great with Imagineers, and I'm looking forward to see what they do next. And I also like that they're not afraid to change classic rides. Like they add Jack Sparrow to Pirates, and they add Disney characters. So it's a small, which is a great idea. I love that idea. So it makes people look around. It makes people pay attention. They want to see the Disney characters among the dolls, and that makes them notice all the different costumes from around the world. So I think adding Disney characters to its small way is a very great idea. And the Beauty and the Beast ride is coming. It's opening soon in Tokyo Disneyland. Also looks fantastic. So I'm very excited to see what Imagineers do next. So the documentary is very good. There are a couple of things that they didn't go over, like Puss Honey Hunt and Monsters Inc. Hide and Go Seek in Tokyo Disneyland. And also wish they had mentioned Adventures by Disney, because they mentioned the Disney Cruise. So I thought then they might mention the Adventures by Disney, but I guess that's not Imagineering. But it's something that I hope someday that they make a documentary about Adventures by Disney, because the one thing that Americans need to do more is travel, especially abroad. And I hope Adventures by Disney can bring people who are afraid or hesitant to travel abroad but trust the Disney brand to travel more. I think traveling is one of the greatest things you can do in life. It opens up your perspective. It allows you to see what other countries do that's maybe better than yours, and bring the idea home and improve things back home. So yeah, go travel more. So what's my favorite park of all the 12? If we're talking about one park, it has to be the original Disneyland in Anaheim. There's just something special about that park. It feels like you can feel Walt's presence there. I know I'm not the only one who say that, so it sounds cliche, but it does feel different. It does feel like Walt's there, his spirit is there. But if we're talking about resort, then I have to pick Tokyo Disney Resort. If Walt Disney World has the normal Fastpass system instead of the FP Plus, I would choose Walt Disney World, because it gives a one-of-kind experience that not even Tokyo give. It's more than just the parks, but the resorts over in Walt Disney World are amazing. It's so big. There are a lot of things to do besides the parks. So unfortunately, I hate the fast pass system. I hate that I need to know which park I want to be in on a specific date 6 days in advance. And not only that, but I have to know what time I want to ride specific rides 60 days in advance, and that just kills the spontaneity. I like to have spontaneity when traveling. So that's why Tokyo Disney gets my vote as the best Disney resort in the world. So thanks for watching.